What's on, guys? Stevie here from Exploring Paranormal. Welcome to my crazy van life world. And in this episode, guys, we're going to be checking out some of the best, I think some of the spookiest ghost photographs I think I've ever seen. And these I guarantee you've not seen anywhere else on YouTube before. So check these out, guys. These are my favorite ones. We're going to get into this one. If you like this video, please hit the like. It really helps my channel grow so people can get to see my videos, and I really want people to see them. And if you do like this video, subscribe for more. Anyway, guys, let's get into this one. Now, this ghost photograph that you're about to see here, guys, now it's kind of unique. I really like this ghost photograph, and what's so unique about this is where it was recorded, a little bit of the back history, and I personally know because I was there when it was caught. Now, it's set within a building on the Newcastle quayside in Newcastle upon Tyne in England, and this old building dates all the way back to the 1600s. It's got 4 floors to it, and the very top 2 or 3 floors are totally abandoned and have never been touched since about the late 18, early 1900s. So we jumped at the opportunity when the local owner of a pub and nightclub, who was experiencing loads of paranormal activity, invited me and my old paranormal research team into the building to come and check it out. We got inside of there and immediately we found the place to be absolutely amazing. I mean, it was a closed nightclub, and it was during the day. Went and have a look at this place, and what I asked is, could we set up cameras around the property? And one of the things we want to do is set off cameras which had triggers on. So basically, if we've got any kind of strange movement in locked off rooms where the doors are locked, nobody had access to, the cameras would go off. And we had these rigged up everywhere. Now, this building was so big we simply couldn't get through the entire building and rig everywhere up, but one of the places we wanted to go to is where there was a fire. Now, this fire was a tragic fire. It killed many people and almost destroyed most of the building, realistically. And this was during the late 1800s. It was so bad, they simply didn't remove any kind of bodies. They didn't do nothing like that. They simply just closed the doors, nailed them shut, and left them. Now, sometime during the 50s and 60s, these bodies supposedly were removed. The building was kind of cleaned out, but the place still remained charred and dark and kind of eerie, but people have been dumping stuff there for years. So what happened was, during the investigation, this photograph appeared. We were actually down on the 2nd floor, and one of our researchers came up to me and said, Steve, one of the alarms has been triggered inside of the actual locked off room towards the basement area. So we get up there, door's locked, we've got the only keys, we open up the door, we go inside, there's no one there, yet this photograph appeared. Now, what I'm actually looking at right now is the camera itself is looking into the back of the room, and you can quite clearly see in the middle of the photograph, prime position, and this is a still from a piece of recorded footage, and you can actually see right there the ghostly shape of what we believe is a man. Some people believe they can see a woman with dark long hair to the left hand side of the man who seems to be moving through. Now, what actually set the alarm off, guys, was a trigger object inside, an alarm and a sensor, basically an infrared sensor, as something inside the room physically was knocked over. And I don't know if you can see in the middle of the screen there's a piece of wood. Well, that piece of wood was originally leaning up against them other pieces at the side of it, and it somehow maybe just slipped, who knows, but this photograph was seen inside of there. Now, staff in the building have had ominous feelings of being followed. They've had feelings like someone's standing behind them. People have had drinks move about, but it's had 3 phantom fires. One of the last phantom fires that was there was during the 1970s, and literally we went into an abandoned room, and inside of this room was part of the nightclub. The DJ stand was still there, the vinyl melted to it, women's handbags were melted to tables. It was absolutely crazy to see this bar that hasn't been touched, or this club that hadn't been touched since the 70s, melted in a fire, or smoke and water damage. And it was kind of eerie, but quite a few people did pass away, and as far as I know, this could be well one of the people who actually died inside the building. And this photograph, next one, comes in from Newcastle again, Newcastle upon Tyne. Now, what you're looking at here is the center window. Now, what's amazing about this photograph is, yes, it is a little bit, you know, it's not the greatest photograph in the world, but what I do like about it was the fact that I was actually there when it was recorded. And this has been enhanced so you can actually see, you can clearly see a person in the middle window. Looks like a grumpy old man or woman. Now, what's interesting about this, guys, is that this here is the Newcastle, it's related to the Newcastle witch trials. During 1650, 30 innocent people were captured for witchcraft. 14 of them will be tortured and killed and hung upon the hill of the town moor in the town or the village of Newcastle back then. The bodies dumped in a large witch pit. Now, one of the witches was a man, and the man himself supposedly was accused of shape-shifting into a black cat and luring children away from their families. From when he got them away, he supposedly practiced some sort of dark rituals, and people say he even skinned the children alive and nailed their flesh to the floor within a circle and used nails from a killer's coffin to do so. The children's corpses were then supposedly burnt in the middle of a pyre to summon the devil himself, or as the old story goes, by the name of Adonai. Adonai, supposedly another word for a devil or a demon. Now, how much of this is true, I can't really say. But one thing what was strange is where this man lived, no one knew for sure. There was some people who believed he lived on the Newcastle quayside. Now, what happened was a building was sold off in Newcastle in 2009, and when they started doing the restoration on it to turn it into a restaurant, they actually found a building inside a building. Basically, a factory unit had been built over the top of another unit sometime in the 1700s. Now, we're not too sure at first if this was correct or was his home, but a workman one day was smashing through a wall to knock it down, and as he was doing so, he realised behind the plaster and the wall there was actually a wooden door. Once he removed that, they got inside the wooden door, they found a room. One thing they found inside the room was the original lead-lined windows you can see here in the picture. Problem was, there was another wall either side of it sandwiching that central wall together, so you couldn't see out the windows. There was a wall directly in front of them. Now, what the builders did do is go around photographing the place, and one of the photographs that was actually recorded was this one here, and as you can clearly see, it shows what looks like an old man looking out the window. The problem is, guys, there's only around about 6 inches behind that glass against the other wall that was backed against it. There was no way a physical human could get inside of that. We must have been around about 15 to 20 feet away on a wall ledge, because this was on the 2nd or 3rd floor. What's also interesting is the building that you're looking at in this photograph, you can just about make the brickwork out, which is at a bit of a strange angle, but the building itself was actually built during the 1500s and literally was hidden inside another building. So when they unearthed it, they've got this building that looks almost pristine, but it wasn't. It was from the 1500s and was related to this witch. One scary thing about this, though, is that this man who practiced these dark arts, I always thought was possibly innocent. It wasn't until the renovation to when they removed some of the floorboards, which were marked with witches' marks, and underneath the floorboards they found a set of children's shoes still containing the owner's original feet. Where the rest of the corpse was, they never did find it. He was accused of killing up to 7 different children, and to get this from him, to find out what he actually did, they basically made him walk over broken brick and shards of rock barefoot, being led by a mule or donkey for over 24 hours. The bones literally protruded from his feet until he gave the confession. I think anyone would confess under these circumstances. He was then taken to the town moor in Newcastle, the highest hill known as Cow Hill, and on that place they placed a noose around his neck and they hung him. 14 of the witches were actually hung alongside him, or 13 other witches. In total, 30 were actually captured and held in the castle keep there and tortured. In Newcastle today, you've still got the original town hall, which still exists, which is known as Lloyd's on the quayside bar, on the quayside itself, and that is where the town hall was, and that's exactly where the trials took place. You've got the Newcastle castle, to where they were held in the actual dungeons, and you've even got the Mathew Bonner witch house is what you're looking at right now. Could it be a ghost of Mathew Bonner? I don't know, but the reason they bricked the whole building up is, as they said, or they believed, his spirit or demonic soul haunted the building, and if you were to pass at night, you would see his eyes glow red, and if you did, he would follow you home, haunt you until you died. Guys, in this next one, this is a super creepy photograph that was sent in to me from a friend. Now, actually, I tell you what, it wasn't a friend, it was my cousin Angela. It was her friend that had this photograph. Now, what you can clearly see on your screen here is the lady sitting, and she's got her infant child sitting on the floor with her. But check this misted craziness going on around the child. This was at a birthday party, and just look at that weird, it's almost like there's a ghost child inside the mist. unexplainable. No one's smoking inside the house around the infant child whatsoever, yet this looks like what people would class as ectoplasm and some sort of infant child there. I don't know much more about this backstory, but it's got to be one of the most creepiest ghost photographs I've seen around an infant. Now I've got a couple of ghost monks featured in this video, and this is our first ghost monk of this video. This one was recorded at the haunted Finkel Abbey in County Durham in the UK, and it was during a investigation, if you like. Well, actually I shouldn't say investigation. We basically jumped the fence, got inside of there, and we were going around at night recording. During the time though, we had heard what sounded like a Gregorian chant. Now if you never heard a Gregorian chant, it sounds a bit like this. Yup, creepy as shit. Now we were in the place called the Undercroft. Now during the time of the plague in the 1600s or 1630s or roughly about the 1630s, it was believed that many people came to this house of God. They believed the pestilence, the plague itself, it was brought upon them by God himself as a punishment for maybe them not being so religious or whatever, so they went there and begged forgiveness. It would be the last place many of the people went to, because it was the house itself where it spread worse and people died. It was horrific. And one of the rooms that we were in at the time had literally been a room to where these bodies had been placed, and there was a old story about this place that one of the men, who was a monk, actually renounced his faith in God for what had happened, and he agreed to put people out of their misery. They were dying, it was a horrific way, and he agreed, being a herbalist, he could give them a potion or whatever, and it would make them pass away, if you like, put them in a deep sleep until they did pass. The story is though that it went tragically wrong, and the monk ended up stabbing a man through his heart with a stick to actually kill him because of the pain he was in. Supposedly this monk now haunts the ruins of the abbey, along with other people who have broken in, and they've done a Ouija boards, satanic rituals, and lots of other strange creepy things. So during our time there, when we were filming, we didn't realise, and we had people with us, and we didn't realise that we were being followed by an actual ghost. Now this was recorded from my camera. I was actually walking ahead, I had the camera, and I just turned around with the camera to film two people that were with us. There was only 4 of us there, and in the background you can clearly see what looks like the shape of a monk. You can see a pale looking face, all black robe kind of person here. It is pixelated because I've had to zoom in on the picture for you to physically see this, and I've had to really lighten it. I knew there shouldn't be no one there. By the ruin on the right hand side, you can see the ruin wall, and the ruin is part of the old foundations of the building. There's nobody should be there, but this thing was following us around. In this next one, guys, we have something that most recently was brought to our attention. Is it a ghost? Is it not a ghost? Well, that's up to you guys to find out. It's actually in one of my videos where I'm inside a haunted barn, and inside that haunted barn, I am walking around by myself, looking about at the old tractors and other things inside of there. Now this barn is said to be haunted by a so-called witch and her daughter, who were brought there by the Catholic Church and persecuted or questioned. It's all part of a Benedictine priory. Now the Benedictine monks did have a hand in with Catholicism and exorcism. Exorcisms today use the Benedictine prayer and such other things like this, so there's always been a tie there with them. Now these monks are known as the Order of the Black Monk because they all wear black robes, and some of the most scariest looking, if you like, out of all of the monks around. Now inside this building, it is said that it is supposedly haunted by a man in black, which looks like a black robed monk. So it was a bit of an astonishment really when I had not even seen this in the original video, to where one of you guys from YouTube pointed out and messaged me, inboxed me and said, listen, you've got a ghost in your video. And at the time I'm using an electromagnetic field meter, an EMF meter, and I'm simply asking questions. If there's a spirit here, can you come close, make the machine make a noise, things like this. And we were getting responses. Little did I know that this creepy feature, or this figure, was looming down above me. Now at first I wanted to know, was it just the light piercing through some of the holes in the roof? But what's interesting is that it's actually got a 3D base to it, and what's also interesting is that it blocks out wood and stuff behind it, which means it's not in the back of the room, but it's actually at the edge of the platform above us. Now that platform, sadly, in 1951 was used as a point of suicide for a local farmer who who owned that after his son had drowned in the river that runs by it. Now the river itself even has a curse and has had over 114 people die there. Now I can't say for sure that this one is definitely a ghost, but it's definitely on one of my top creepiest photographs because it looks so ominous. It almost reminds me of Nosferatu, the original Nosferatu. I'm going to insert a picture side by side so you can see what I mean, but you can clearly see what looks like facial features and also a glowing light, a 3D dark silhouetted body from itself, and it's just one scary picture. What I also will say about photographs like this with ghosts is that ghosts or spirits can use what we class as residual noise. In other words, noise can either be audio noise, which we get through spirit boxes, and it can make patterns in words. It can also be images, light reflections, distortion, and we can see them on cameras and other things, and maybe this is what we recorded. Could a spirit actually use the shadow in a room to make itself look more? At night when you're lying in bed and you think you see a dark figure at the bottom of your bed or in the corner where your wardrobe is or where your dressing gown hangs in the back of the door, and then often you think someone's staring at you, more likely they are. If you've ever had these things happen, guys, comment down below, let me know what it's like. Is your house haunted? Have you got any cool ghost photographs? But guys, I want to know what your thoughts are with these ghost photographs. Which one did you like? Which one creeped you out? And let me know, do you have ghost photographs? Have you ever seen a ghost? Do you even believe in them? Let me know down in the comments, guys. Remember, smash a like, please subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.